Right now, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about Prosecco. Welcome back to Drinking It In. I am your host, Chris Casara. We are here to help you know more and drink better, and we are going to talk about Prosecco. I've talked a bit about Prosecco on the channel over the years, but I figured it'd be great to have an episode that gives you all the information you could possibly need about Prosecco, because it's a very important topic. And I think Prosecco has proven that it has captured the imagination of the world and the United States. So, number one, Prosecco is not just a style of wine, it is a region. It is a region in northern Italy, and that's where all Prosecco wine comes from, right? You can't just make Prosecco in California. It's not going to work. It's just like the champagne. They're protecting the name. Northern Italy, Prosecco. It's usually bubbly, right? We're all used to that. There are some still wine versions of that, but not something that you typically find very often. Prosecco is the largest DOC in Italy in terms of acres. So that's pretty impressive, or, it's an impressive stat when you think about all the wine that's grown in Italy. It is the largest denomination originate controllata in terms of acres. The main grape in Prosecco is called Glera. Now, for Prosecco to meet the standards of the DOCs, or DOCG in the case of some of the other guys we're going to name later, you need to have at least 85% Glera. The majority is, it's more, the majority, it's all Glera. There was some confusion back in the early 2000s when Prosecco was really coming onto the scene. The question was, is the grape Glera? Is the grape Prosecco? Turns out it was more or less the same thing, but to eliminate, it was just a synonym, right? For Glera is a synonym for the Prosecco grape. But in 2009, the authorities, they came in and they said, you know what? Let's make Prosecco the region and use the term Glera for the grape. Let's keep it clean. Make it a little easier to understand. Next thing I think to understand is Prosecco is not like champagne in terms of flavor and texture, and that's because of how it's made, right? Prosecco is made in where the second fermentation takes place in big stainless steel tanks, whereas the traditional method of champagne and some other sparkling wine production has a secondary fermentation taking place in the bottle. And what that does, what the tank method does, is it makes the wines more friendly and softer, and have less bready notes and much rounder flavor notes than those typical high acid and sharper notes that you get in champagne. So again, both have a place, but there's a reason why they taste so different. Hey, newsflash! As of 2020, Prosecco can now be pink. Right? Prosecco Rosé became official in 2020. I mean, it's good to see the Italian wine authorities, picking up on trends, because Rosé was, just continues to take off, or continues its rise. It took off back in the, let's say, the late teens, and when it came to around 2020, the Italian wine authorities must have been looking at us to be like, okay, guys, let's allow some pink Prosecco Rosé. I've had some really good Prosecco Rosés. They're starting to show up more on the market, these days. So I encourage you to definitely give one a try. Just don't try the Josh Prosecco Rosé. It was literally one of the worst wines I've ever had in my life. Prosecco, you don't need an occasion to have a Prosecco. It can be for a celebration. It can be for, a Monday evening where you're going to cook some dinner, but it doesn't matter, right? Prosecco can be enjoyed any time. But what makes it even more versatile, and I think also is leading to it continuing to gain market share, is that it's great in cocktails, right? The spritz culture is taking over the U.S. now, and Prosecco is generally used when somebody's making you an Aperol spritz or any kind of spritz that people are now making these days. Yugo spritz seems to be the flavor of the moment. It can be more than that, right? If you make a cocktail and you top it off a little Prosecco, hey, it's a Royale. Look at that. Now, Prosecco, you don't need to, really get too serious about pairing foods, but if, the next time you have, some cheese, a pasta with a creamy sauce, some sushi, or even some fried foods, break out a Prosecco, and it's going to be delicious. Lastly, most of the stuff that I've been talking about right now is, it's less serious, right? Everything about Prosecco is casual, celebratory, less serious, less formal. But if you want to get serious and you want to really dive deep into some of the more specific subzones, right? So Prosecco, then you have Valdobbiadene, which is a smaller region within Prosecco. And then Cartizze is a tiny, tiny bullseye on a hill in the middle of Prosecco that, it's very, very tough to find the wines from Cartizze. But if you do, they're still going to be pretty reasonable, and when compared to champagne, and they can blow your mind. One of the best sparkling wine I have ever had in my life was a Marsaret Cartizze Prosecco. And thank you to the marsaret.it website for a few of the graphics that you've seen throughout this video, because they not only do they do a great job of making wine, they also do, their website is really, really nice and has a ton of good information for you to use. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on Prosecco, and how you use it, right? Are you drinking Prosecco on its own? Are you only using Prosecco in cocktails? Are you just now losing your mind over spritzes and that's all you drink? And that's all I got for you. Hopefully this video has now given you everything you need to know about Prosecco, because that's what I said it was going to do in the beginning. I wanted to take a moment and thank you guys for all of the love and all of the great interactions that we are starting to have in this comment section. It would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe, and because that's going to get us more exposure and out to a wider audience, and it's going to make this community even better than it is already. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers. Hey, I wanted to thank you for a moment. I wanted to take a moment. Let's try that again.